Wait till you see the. No, 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 no.
Hey, what's going on, guys? We're going to be doing a commentary over video here because this game, for whatever reason, does not like to be recorded from any of the pieces of software I am using right now, so I'm just a little bit peeved right now. So it'll be appropriate because it is relating to what I think about this game, which is I do not like it. Warcraft 3 is one of my favorite games. One of my favorite games of all time. It is my second favorite strategy game for gameplay behind StarCraft 2. I used to love playing Blizzard games, man. You know, Diablo 2, Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft, StarCraft 1 and 2. Amazing games. And over time, I've just found that they might not have been as good as I remembered, but they were still really fun and engaging. Just enjoyable games all around. And the last 10 years or so with Blizzard has led me to believe that they are just slowly becoming more and more incapable of not only meeting the expectations you had of those games, but just making games in general. It's just foreign to them. So Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, and it has a ton of issues, bugs, glitches, but the main issue I have right now is just how little it changes from the original, despite completely screwing with it. So we'll get into that a little bit more later. This is going to be a little bit more unscripted because, again, I couldn't get the software working because it didn't record the audio properly, but you can see a lot of my complaints on screen. So the biggest complaint I have with the game right now are the character models, which are balls. So the animations from the character portraits are just so stiff and lifeless, and anything that has, like, this human appearance to it. So orcs and night elves look okay, aside from maybe the heroes, but the humans and undead look like they have Vaseline just glossed over them, and some of their eyes just look like they've been smoking the ganja for over 2 hours. The peasant in particular, like from the portrait, looks pretty bad. It just looks like a Raid Shadow Legends knockoff, if that makes sense. It really looks like some outsourced Chinese studio made this, and they're probably the same group of people that are going to be doing Diablo Immortal, okay? So, yeah. Visually, it does not look good in that department. From a distance, some of the models look okay, some of the models will even look better, but the original animations for the character portraits, and this really gets me because, you know, a lot of the interactions between characters in Warcraft 3 is so important to the lore, and the storytelling is just so important that you really have to have these characters expressing emotion. In the original game, they have these looped, talking head animations, and they look kind of cheap in that, you know, they were just looped over character dialogue, and they kind of did it to match the lip syncing, but it wasn't perfect. Lip syncing is better here, but the main thing is that the bits like that in the original game were, you know, the characters were expressive. They looked expressive. Here, they're just moving their mouths, they're not moving their eyes, they're not moving their cheeks or anything like that, they're not moving their heads even. They're just kind of doing these blank 1,000-yard stares. And what's worse, I think, is the presentation has been changed around a little bit, not to a severe degree where it's ruining the game, but honestly, there have been a couple changes that didn't need to be done, and that leads me to how I'm worried that later on in the game there's going to be other changes that are going to completely ruin some moments. Again, that's speculative. This is my first impressions. I'm only about an hour or two into the game, even less than that. I've kind of just lost the motivation to play it, honestly, because the character models just look so horrible. It just takes any of the seriousness and the impact that, you know, these cutscenes should be having just out of the game. Speaking of cutscenes, they've kind of redone them a little bit, as in they've fluffed them up from the original version, so they don't look compressed horribly anymore. They actually look a little bit better, but they were supposed to be redone, and there's only one cutscene that's been redone in this game, the final cutscene between Arthas and Illidan in the Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne expansion, the showdown, and that cutscene was, it was cool in the original version, and now, you know, it goes what I was saying, you know, whenever they change something, it's either, okay, that's a little weird, or it looks like crap. So that is actually one cutscene that I haven't gotten to yet, but it looks terrible. It looks awful. The final cutscene for the Reign of Chaos expansion that you see. All the other ones, they're just upscaled, or they look a little bit better, but they're still fuzzy. So, okay, it's dumb. The game has obviously seen some downgrades since it was shown off at BlizzCon a couple years ago, I believe 2018. Now, I wasn't expecting this game to be super good looking in the graphics department. The thing is that they have to make it compatible still with the original version. They can't redo the engine too much or retool it to make the game run better or make the character models look prettier, because that was a problem in the original showcase for this game. The game wasn't running that well, and I have a feeling that they downgraded it because it wasn't it wasn't working whenever they tried to have it run in the same engine space as the original game, because they want it to be compatible with the old version. And honestly, if you want my opinion on that, they should have just made a completely remastered campaign and kept the multiplayer the way it is, because they've completely fucked up the original game too. When you go online on this on the original game, before you would go online, you play a custom game or versus mode, and sometimes Blizzard would actually every couple years would update the original game. The problem is that over time something has happened where custom games has been harder to do, because now if you used to go on Warcraft 3 custom games, you had to port forward to host on your router. It was really a pain in the ass, but now no one's doing that anymore even. Every game is basically hosted by bots. It's very bizarre, and it's even worse here because you have this horrible menu. The search system for the original game for custom games wasn't good, but it's even worse here. It's just very bland looking, and there's tons of issues people are having with connectivity, probably because you have two different versions of the game trying to connect to each other. It was always a pain in the ass to get people playing the original Warcraft 3, and the updates have continuously made it even harder. Like, people disconnecting at the start was always a problem. But it's gotten even worse now, and on top of that, too, the versus mode has been completely screwed with, so now you have a very bare-bones versus mode. There's no ladder play, there's no casual play, so you have people who have been playing this game for 15 years being matched up with people who are just playing it or never played an RTS before, and, pick this game up thinking, oh, this might be cool, this might be fun. I have the benefit of playing, like, the game way back in the day, so I'm decent at it. I've played StarCraft 2 a lot, so I'm decent at RTS games, and I've gotten used to Warcraft 3's mechanics. I didn't play it like versus mode back in the day, but I played a little bit of skirmish. I played a lot of custom games. But, even I can feel it. Like, when I was playing the beta, I was getting destroyed sometimes, and other times I was walking over people. It needs a better ladder system, and it doesn't have that, and it took it out. It's stupid. And, yeah, it's just so shitty to see this coming from Blizzard, and I don't even know whether to be upset or disappointed. I can't even be disappointed anymore, because this is how Blizzard has been for the last 5 or 6 years. Arguably for the last decade. The last time I had a really good story experience in a Blizzard game was Wrath of the Lich King. Diablo 3's story was kind of poopy. StarCraft 2 had a pretty bad ending, honestly. I mean, it was fun, but it was just not that great. And then you had Overwatch, which just didn't even have a story. It just had everything in wikis and comics, just not in the game. And what was there was just kind of lame. And then World of Warcraft, I mean, Warlords of Draenor wasn't too bad, but Cataclysm had a horribly written ending. And Legion, even though people regard that as a good expansion, I mean, well, look at it. It has a bunch of retreaded plot points from previous expansions and ideas. It's not like they came up with anything particularly new. They just kind of took all of the villains and the demons and, like, the Burning Crusade ideas and some of the missed opportunity from Warlords and just stuck it into a game. And the writing for Battle for Azeroth is horrible. It's awful. The way they change characters to have, like, the dumbest motivations, and it just feels like fan fiction at this point, World of Warcraft does. And we come to the remastered games, the one thing you'd expect Blizzard to get right, because they can't do anything new right, so maybe they can get their old stuff right. No, I'm convinced that StarCraft 1 Remastered was a fluke. It was a complete fluke, a complete accident that game turned out to be decent, because Classic WoW had all these damn problems. Forget that the game is fun, the core game is fun. Everything Blizzard has added to it or changed or done with has essentially screwed it up to a point where it's ruined certain servers. It's made the game more frustrating to play with all the exploits that Blizzard hasn't patched out. The gold spammers for weeks would just constantly hound you. It was annoying. It was worse than private servers. And now we come to Warcraft 3 Reforged. It's in this perfect spot right now, where the content it adds almost nothing to it. And what it does change completely screws up what was there to begin with. This is one of the most pointless remasters I've ever played. It is such a waste of money, and that's like the real key to all this. Never at one point, when I paid for a Blizzard game, did I feel it was a waste of money. There was always something to get out of it. Even though I feel some of the games are uninspired, they screw up a lot of launches, or, the stupid loot boxes or whatever, there was always, a fun little game underneath it. And even though Warcraft 3 is a fun game, Reforged is the first time I've ever felt that I've wasted my fucking money on a Blizzard game. It's awful, it's pointless, it doesn't need to exist. It's just, I can't even think of something that's so minimal in, effort, and yet so unbelievably offensive to the original. Custom games is screwed up, Versus is screwed up, campaign is just... Look at those character models, they look awful. And that's just not even talking about all the technical issues people have been having, just from launch, people not being able to play the game, frame rate dropping issues, it just sucks. I can't even say I'm disappointed. I can't even say I'm upset. I'm just mad at myself for even thinking that they even have the basic competence to take a 15-year-old game and make it a little better. They can't even do that. What the hell are you doing? What the hell kind of company are you? You can't even remaster a 15-year-old game properly. You can't even get that right. What are you even doing? Diablo 4? Doesn't even look that good. It's too early to tell. Doesn't even look that good. I can tell it's not even going to be that good. Overwatch 2, okay. Alright. Shadowlands. Raid Shadow Legends. Whatever that fucking expansion is. That piece of shit. It doesn't even look like they've learned their lessons from Battle for Azeroth or the community of Classic WoW. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna end the video right here. Thank you for watching. I'm done. I'm done. Good night. Goodbye. Have a happy time. Goodbye.